Hello and what's up YouTube? Today I will be rebuilding this front brake master cylinder. Previously I done with my rear brake master cylinder. So I'm pleased with the results. So now I will be doing the same with my front brake because this front brake feels spongy. So I thought it's a good time to replace the rubber seals. It is the same size as the rear brake. It's Nissan 1/2 inch. So first, after removing it from the bike, before we are able to remove the piston, we have to remove the rubber boot, like so. I just pry it out with a flat screwdriver. This one is still in good shape, no cracks, no holes, so I will be reusing this part. I actually bought just the rubber seals, not the complete rebuild kit. After that's removed, we can now see the circlip. Now I try to remove it with my circlip pliers, but it is not the right size. Anyway, there's another way of removing that circlip and piston. That is by using a screwdriver. I insert it to the hole of the banjo bolt, and with one strike of the hammer, just a quick blow, there you go. It came out very easy. The piston and the circlip. Now it does not seem to damage the circlip or the circlip groove. Once the piston is removed, I just go ahead and clean the bore of the master cylinder. I use WD-40 because that's what I have, and then a rag inserted to the screwdriver. Just be careful not to scratch the bore if you are doing it this way. Once everything is clean, I go ahead and replace the seal on this piston. Now there are two rubber seals. If you are getting the rebuild kit with the new piston, you will just have to install the new one. But in my case, I just bought the new rubber seals, two rubber seals. So first I remove the old ones. This rubber is tough. It's not easy to break, and it is elastic. Now I show you the difference between the new ones and the old one. The new one on my right, the old one is on the left. You can see that the new one have a slightly bigger diameter because the old one is worn down. Even I put the old one on top to compare the diameter, it is obvious that the new one is slightly bigger. I just installed the new rubber seals to the piston. Now the rubber seals are kind of a cup shape. So the opening of that cup should be facing the hole of the banjo bolt. And the two rubber seals have different hole diameter. So it won't be hard to figure out which one is on the top and at the bottom. I just use a flat screwdriver to persuade it to go into position. And we're done. I just return the spring and put it back in. I just reinstalled the circlip by pushing it to the groove using a pick. And once it is locked in there, I just go ahead and reinstall the rubber boot. I just use a flat screwdriver to push it into position. Okay, now we're done with the front brake master cylinder. But before I put it back to the bike, I want to test if it is working well. The way I do that is to push the piston and put my finger on the banjo bolt and feel if it is building up pressure. I will now show you my setup how I bleed the front brakes. So as you can see, the front brake master cylinder is not installed to the handlebar. Instead, I clamp it temporarily to a socket. This is so that it will be near to the front brake caliper. So I can easily work on it with my two hands because I am working alone. So as usual, I fill the reservoir with new brake fluid. Now in my case, my brake hose lost a lot of fluid when I removed the front brake caliper. So there is way more air. There's a lot more air in that brake hose. For that reason, the normal procedure for bleeding the brakes just don't work. So the way I do it is with a vice grip, as I'll show you right now. So I press the brake lever, then I pinch the hose with a vice grip, then I release the brake lever, and in that way we can see that the brake fluid level goes down. That means fluid is entering the hose. Let's see it closer. So I press the brake lever, hold it in place, I pinch the hose, then I release the brake lever. You can see the level of brake fluid going down. The reason this works is by pinching the brake hose, we create enough vacuum so that the piston can suck in more brake fluid from the reservoir and push it into the hose. And you can see some bubbles going out from the fluid as well. So I do it about 3 to 4 times. Then with some more brake fluid in the hose, the normal procedure for bleeding the brakes can now be applied, as you can see right here. As the pressure builds up, you can see the hose of the brake hose responding, jerking a bit. Then I just top up the fluid, and there you go. So the normal procedure is I press the brake lever 3 times, hold it in place, crack open the bleeder screw to release some fluid and air if there is still air. Close the bleeder screw, then release the brake lever. I did not bother to put a hose on the bleeder screw. I just wipe clean the spilled brake fluid. Then once we're happy with bleeding the air out, I just return the bladder and the cup. Then reinstall the rubber cup on the bleeder screw. So just clean the excess brake fluid. I just wipe the excess brake fluid with a piece of rag. And then follow the correct layout of the hose going to the handlebar. So I just replace what's there in the handlebar to start with. So there is in my motorcycle there is this rubber rubber piece. And then I reconnect the electrical wirings for the brake light. And finally, the two bolts that clamp the master cylinder to the handlebar. I hope you learned something. If you are having problem with bleeding the brakes, if it takes you forever to bleed the brakes, then the trick with the vice grip for pinching the hose might work for you because it worked for me. And finally testing the brakes, it now felt very solid. You can see the brake hose responding to pressure when I depress it. So that's it. So if you like this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. Thank you very much and see you next time.